Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois in the United States, coming to you today with another card that I found by casing the catalog. CASE stands for Copy and Share Everything, or Copy and Selectively Edit, but in this case today I am actually copying the card exactly. I've really had a lot of fun lately casing cards from the catalog. They are absolutely gorgeous. Sometimes I use them just as a starting point and then veer off and do something very different, but I really have had fun lately copying them exactly, and that's what I'm doing for today. So I'm going to turn my camera around so that we can get started. Here is the card I will be making today, and it comes from page 43 in the annual catalog. So as you can see, I copied it exactly, and that's what I'm going to do for you today, is show you how to do it. The set that we're using, the bundle, is the Sweet Strawberries set. It's got a really pretty font, and it's got birthday and thank you and hello, just for you sentiments, and some wonderful strawberries. And they can be cut out with the strawberry builder punch. And we will be using that today, and we are also going to use the Stamparatus because we have to cut out several leaves and several flowers, and I think that's the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to show you how. So we'll move these out of the way and move the card aside, and I am going to bring in that Stamparatus right away to show you how to put the card together. So here is my Stamparatus. All right, so the first thing we have to do is set up our stamps on the Stamparatus. All right, I've got my template, and I've just got a piece of scrap computer paper that I'm putting underneath just to make sure, because it may take a couple of tries as we're doing our placement of the stamps. I don't want to waste good cardstock. I've tried this a couple times, as you can see, and I was having some trouble, so we're going to try it again. But this is how you do it. You place the stamp right in that opening that you've punched out, and hopefully that's lined up okay, but that's why we're using the scrap paper. Lay your plate over, press it, and pick it up. And we're going to make sure that the template is right where we want it, lined up correctly. And then we're going to ink it up. I'm using Flirty Flamingo. That's also the color for the card base. And stamp and see how well we did. I'm going to turn it just a little bit. I'm going to try one more time. Of course, when I did this in practice, I got it right on the first try. Wouldn't you know? So we're just going to flip this over. That's why we're using the copy paper. Set it right up in that corner again, because if I set it there every time, then I know it's in the correct place. And I cleaned it with the chamois, so we're going to start over again. Trying to place it right there. It looks like it's in the right spot, but it's kind of hard to tell because there is no ink there. Pick it up with the plate. Make sure it's in the right spot. It does tend to move sometimes because the photopolymer stamps are a little sticky, which is great because it stays adhered to the plate, but it makes it harder when you are pulling it up. All right. I think we'll do it one more time. Again, I'm just going to pick a new spot. It really doesn't matter on this because this is just our scrap paper. Try one more time. Ah, perfect. Okay, so there is our first one. Placement of the filler stamp is easier. We're going to take that plate and pull it out and flip it around. One of the many advantages of the Stamparatus is that there are 4 surfaces to work on. We're going to take the filler stamp, and this one is easier to line up because you can see the outline. So let's set it right up over it, and then pick it up with the Stamparatus. And now we are going to be stamping off. So I have a scrap, another scrap of computer paper that I'm going to lay here because we're going to ink the stamp up. and press it once, take it out, and then press it again. Beautiful, perfectly lined up. So that one's done. Now we're going to work on the leaf. I'm going to put that ink pad aside and grab Pear Pizazz, as that's what we'll be using for the leaves. And then we're going to do the same process. This one hopefully will be a little easier, but we'll see. Lay it in the, and the most important part is the stem. But we'll lay it in the hole that we made, in the opening that we made from punching, and stamp it with the Pear Pizazz. Beautiful. All right, I'm happy with that. So again, we're going to flip the plate over and put in our filler stamp for the leaf. And again, it's a little easier to see, to make sure it's lined up, because you can see the outline of where it goes. And pick it up with the plate. Yep, that looks good. And again, because we're stamping off, I'm going to get a piece of paper and lay it down to stamp the first time. Move it out of the way and stamp again. Beautiful. And you can see the pink from behind, but don't worry about that because that's just our test one. So now we've got our Stamparatus set up. So I'm going to pull this out and pull in an actual sheet of 3x3 cardstock that we're going to lay right underneath. So we're just going to line it up, put it in that same corner, and put our magnets down. And we'll work backwards. We'll start with that Pear Pizazz. And remember always to bring your scrap paper in, and actually we'll ink up the filler flower as well. We can work with two at once. 1 and 2. Take it out and then ink them again. And then flip the plates over. And ink the outlines. And you can see there's stray ink there. I do have my chamois handy if I feel like I need to clean it up, but it's not usually a problem. The only problem is if it gets on the magnets, because then when you move them it gets on your fingers, so you want to watch for that a little bit. All right. 1, look at that, beautiful. And 2. And now what we can do is, well, we're going to do one more because I want to show you. I'm going to take the template out and show you that you don't actually need it once you've lined them up, because they are already lined up. It's going to stamp right where you want it. You don't need the template. And in some ways that's easier to do it without it. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm purposely doing them on the same sheet of cardstock because I'm going to show you a little trick. So we're going to ink that up. See that? Even with all that stray ink, it doesn't get on my paper. Same thing here. Flip the plates one more time. And ink again. Bring in our scrap paper. Always remember that scrap. And then one more time. Look at that, perfect, perfect. The filler is right within the outlines. Okay, and now I'm going to take the Stamparatus away and we're going to punch out the leaves and flowers. All right, and I do want to remind you too that it's really important, even when you clean your Stamparatus with the chamois, and you clean the stamps off, I always then put the stamps on blocks and run them over my Stampin' Scrub and use Stampin' Mist on them, because the Stampin' Mist will condition the stamp. So I do always do that as a final step, even though I've cleaned them with the chamois. And now I'm going to punch these out, but because if I put them in like this, we're going to lose 2 of them, I'm going to cut it on a diagonal. And there'll be just a little bit of room in there for me to position them so that I can punch them out, as you'll see. So the same thing, I'm just going to line it up here in my punch. Say, that looks good. And the same thing with the other one. It's easiest to just lay that punch down, then you can use both hands. And there we have the ones that we just stamped. And to save time, I have already stamped and punched the rest of them. So we will get to the rest of our card. As I said earlier, I have a Flirty Flamingo card base. It's an A2 card. So a half sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock cut in half, or a half sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock folded in half, scored and folded in half. And then I've got a piece of basic white cardstock that I cut to 3 1/4 by 5 inches, or in centimeters for an A4 card, it would be 9.5 centimeters by 12.9 centimeters. And we are going to do some stamping on that as well. But before we do that, I want to work on the tag, and I'll show you why. Now I have a piece of Flirty Flamingo cardstock that's 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters wide. And it's just a scrap. This is longer than I need. You need at least a few inches, or maybe 7 centimeters or so. And then I'm going to bring in my Memento black ink pad so that we can stamp the thank you, which again comes from that same set. And I'm going to do it a little bit in from the edge, so I have room to punch. And then while I've got the black on the inside, I did, that was sweet of, so sweet of you, and the little flower grouping, so we'll do that too. Bring this in. And because this one is larger, I'm going to flip it over and take ink to stamp. And I would probably do the same thing on the front of the envelope. We're just going to put that down in the corner. And move that aside and bring this in. We're going to punch first. So we're going to grab the Treasure Tags Pick-a-Punch, and we're going to use this one. So slide it in all the way to the back. And remember, when you're using any of these tag punches, you have to turn it over to make sure that it's lined up correctly on the other side, because it tends to want to move. And we'll punch that, but you want to save that little piece of paper, because that's how we're going to line it up. So I see what space I have on this side. I want about the same amount of space on this side. So if I lay that little scrap down, I'd say that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to grab my pen and just make a little mark on the outer edge and snip it off there. And then bring my punch back in. Let's do it this way. And the same thing, we're going to slide it in, line it up, see how crooked it is. We want to make that nice and straight. And then we have the same amount of distance on each side. Nice and easy. That's the best trick I know for using those punches, because it helps you to line them up exactly the way you want them. All right, so now the reason I did this first, got a little scrap there, but I think it's going to be covered, is I'm going to see about where I want to lay it. Let's use my bone folder on this again. Lay that down. There we go. And then I know where I want to place my flowers. So I've got that one outline flower off my Stamparatus and cleaned and ready to go, because now I'm just going to put it on a block, bring in my Flirty Flamingo ink again, and it looks like there's one down here that kind of hides a little bit underneath, so maybe like that. And then I'm going to move these up a little bit from what I did the last time, because I want them to show a little more. Oh yeah, that's going to be better. And then one maybe over here. And that is the last of our stamping. And then I've got my black glittered organdy ribbon, and I'm just going to work off the roll and make a piece that's a little bit longer than the tag, and pretty up the ends a little bit, cut them at an angle. Let's see here. And then we're just going to lay it underneath. So I'm going to put a glue dot in the middle to hold them together. And then we'll put another couple of glue dots to hold them onto the tag. And then I'm going to put several glue dots on the back to hold them onto the piece of basic white cardstock. Oh yeah, I like that much better. Those flowers are peeking through a little more. I like that. Got a little bits of glitter, and one glue dot stayed on my finger instead of on the on the ribbon. We'll stick one more underneath there. There we go. All right, and now we just have to place our leaves, and all I did was put a glue dot toward the stem on each one, and then place it. And then the same thing with the flowers, except that I'm going to bump a couple of them up with some dimensionals. And then we'll adhere the whole thing to the card base with some Stampin' Seal. Again, lining it up with that left edge. And that's it. Our card is complete. And as you can see, looks just like the one in the catalog. Very close anyway, right? So that is how you case the catalog. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that your demonstrator has access to the sample recipes. So all of the items that are used for each card that's in the catalog, we have access to that, and what tools were used, that kind of thing, if there were any techniques like this one is stamping off. And so if you are interested in copying a card or casing a card from the catalog, reach out to your demonstrator. If you don't have one, please reach out to me. I would be happy to help you out with that. And that is how you case the catalog. Thanks so much for joining me today. Remember, if you like what you see, please like and subscribe to my channel. Click on the bell to be notified when I am posting a new video. And if you need a demonstrator, I would definitely be happy to be yours, so please reach out. And I hope you join me again soon. Bye-bye.